Hi, friends. Today we are going to start our first lesson on what is a map. So, with our last couple of lessons, we did a neighborhood scavenger hunt, and then there was also a color your neighborhood, I think. Color your neighborhood. Well, we're going to continue on to find out more about maps, and I think you are going to really enjoy some of the activities that we have in here. So, before we get started, I need you to make sure that we have our social studies notebooks out. And I don't have a page number for you yet, but you need to be sure that you have that out. So, let's get started. Let's see what we're going to find out about today. All right, so this is the first page that you are going to be looking at in your workbook. So take a minute and find this page. I'm sorry, I do not have this page number on the slide because I don't have my workbook here with me. I had to leave mine at school, friends. So find this page, and if you need to hit pause, please do. But it will be after the things that we did with our how to be a good helper. So hit pause if you need to. All right, so let's look at these two kinds of maps. Let's look at these two kinds of maps. This one, gosh, this says snack bar. And oh, look, here's the entrance. And can you guys read that word? Lions. So we're going to follow the path in the entrance, and there's lions there. And then we're coming around. Oh, this is for Alicia. Alicia likes penguins because I was telling her how stinky that they are at the zoo. So here's penguins, and we're going to keep following the path. We're going to go by this beautiful tree. And oh, here's tigers, and it looks like it's striped. And then we're going on to up monkeys. Here come the monkeys, and a snack bar. And down on this one, it says, gosh, I'm not sure what this says, but this says King City, and this is Burns, and Deer Creek, and Troy, and Red Rock, and Glen Falls. And this means it's Highway 16. This is. So I wonder what these maps are about. So we talked about the top map. What do you think that shows? Go ahead and tell me. What do you think that's a map of? Perfect. I agree. It's a map of a zoo. So why don't you go ahead and write zoo down? And then on the bottom map, it looked like it had names of places and a highway. So, what do you think that one is a map of? Roads and towns. That could almost be Quilcene and Brennan and Highway 101. But that is a map of towns and roads. So, write that in. Good. Okay. Well, in this lesson, as I said, we are going to learn more about maps. Now, this is funny. We're in first grade, and this picture is Miss Hutchinson's first grade class. So let's take around the classroom a minute and let's see what we can see. All right. So we've got some tables and desks. Look what this says, our classroom map. And there's a computer. And I'm wondering if that's the teacher's desk. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Oh, look at that. Does that look familiar? One of our friends that may have been locked out from going to the bathroom. And there's a clock and a map. Okay, so that's a good look around. Okay. So this is Miss Hutchinson's first grade class. And I want you to listen to a story about one special day in this class. Here we go.
Every day, the children in Miss Hutchinson's class gathered happily around the two round tables. But one day, the children were scared to enter the classroom. Someone had heard there was a white mouse loose in the classroom. Brave Miss Hutchinson decided to go in, alone, to look for the mouse. She opened the door and looked around. No white mouse. She looked under the round tables. No white mouse. She carefully opened the doors of the cabinet and peered inside. No white mouse. She went to her desk and looked all around. No white mouse. She walked around the student desks. No white mouse. She carefully, oh so carefully, looked in the wastebasket. No white mouse. Finally, she went to the rectangular table. She looked on the left side of the computer. No white mouse. She looked on the right side of the computer. Suddenly, Miss Hutchinson began to laugh. Next to the white computer, she saw a white computer mouse. There was that white mouse. Just then, at the back of the room, Miss Hutchinson heard a little voice. Squeak, 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 said the little voice. Yikes, said Miss Hutchinson. A mouse.
Oh my gosh, friends, that was cute. So, were they really talking about a mouse that runs around the room? Or were they talking about like a mouse for our computers? Yeah, it was a mouse in the computer, and the computer mouse happened to be white. So, that's how their day started. So, let's retrace Mrs. Hutchinson's steps as she went around her room. Where did she look for the mouse? So just pay attention to this mouse. Excuse me, that was funny. Pay attention to this map as we retrace our steps. Here we go. Okay. Did she go around the tables? Did she look in the bookshelf? Around the desk? Around the students' desks? In the trash can? And then she looked on the rectangular table on the left. And then finally on the right-hand side of the table. Okay, so we are going to use these pictures to create a story map. Okay, so that is a picture of a student desk. This is the rectangular table that the mouse was found on. The computer was on the rectangular table. Here's a mouse, but it's not the white one. This is the cabinet with books and teacher's desk. And the wastebasket. And this is the door. And the last picture is the round table. So I want you to notice that underneath each of these pictures is the symbol for them as you look at them on the map. So the door is kind of tricky because it's just a line, but all of these have different symbols. So like the symbol for the cabinet might look similar to the rectangular table, but see how pointy the corners are? Okay, take a look how it compares to this one. It's rounded. So the teacher's desk has rounded corners. Okay. So we already went through the objects. And I am going to play the story again. And at each stop in the story, let's mark that place. So I need to shrink our screen for a minute. And I need to shrink it again. Okay, but this time I am going to read the story. Hmm. So these are your workbook pages that you should have. Okay, so here we go. I am going to read the story and then we will make a mark every time we find one of the items. Okay? Let me pull this one out. There we go. Darn it. Okay, let me get the story started and then let's start to map the room. Let's listen.
Every day, the children in Miss Hutchinson's class gathered happily around the two round tables. But one day, the children were scared to enter the classroom. Someone had heard there was a white mouse loose in the classroom. Brave Miss Hutchinson decided to go in, alone, to look for the mouse. She opened the door and looked around. No white mouse. She looked under the round tables. No white mouse. She carefully opened the doors of the cabinet and peered inside. No white mouse. She went to her desk and looked all around. No white mouse. She walked around the student desks. No white mouse. She carefully, oh so carefully, looked in the wastebasket. No white mouse. Finally, she went to the rectangular table. She looked on the left side of the computer. No white mouse. She looked on the right side of the computer. Suddenly, Miss Hutchinson began to laugh. Next to the white computer, she saw.
Okay, friend.
Every day, the children in Miss.
Okay, friends. So I have pulled the recorded story next to our picture so we can start it and stop it. So here we go. As soon as you think you hear one of these locations, raise your hand or say stop, and I will try to hear you. So it's the door, the round table, the cabinet, the teacher's desk, the computer, the rectangular table, the student's desk, and the trash can. Well, here we go.
The children in Miss Hutchinson's class gathered happily around the two round tables. But one day, the children were scared to enter the classroom. Someone had heard there was a white mouse loose in the classroom. Brave Miss Hutchinson decided to go in, alone, to look for the mouse.
Okay, have we heard anything yet? She decided to go in alone to look for the mouse. Do you think we have to start it at the door? How many of you think we need to start it at the door? Okay, I'm going to put a number 1 there. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep listening.
She opened the door and looked around. No white mouse. She looked under the round tables. No white mouse.
Okay, she looked under the round tables. Did you hear that? So let's make that number 2. Okay, here we go.
She carefully opened the doors of the cabinet and peered inside. No white mouse.
Oh my goodness. Do you think this is going to go in order the whole way? Number 3, there's the cabinet. I hope you're listening to this too. Let's see if the teacher's desk comes next.
She went to her desk and looked all around. No white mouse.
No white mouse. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, so we have trash can, student desks, rectangular table, and computer.
She walked around the student desks. No white mouse.
Oh, student desks. So that is not in order. So that's number 5. That's where she went next. Okay, let's keep going.
She carefully, oh so carefully, looked in the wastebasket. No white mouse.
Oh, that's funny. She looked up there. That's number 6. There we go. Let's see.
Finally, she went to the rectangular table. She looked on the left side of the computer.
Okay, so she went to the rectangular table and then she went to the computer.
No white mouse. She looked on the right side of the computer. Suddenly, Miss Hutchinson began to laugh. Next to the white computer, she saw a white computer mouse. There was that white mouse. Just then, at the back of the room, Miss Hutchinson heard a little voice. Squeak, 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 said the little voice. Yikes, said Miss Hutchinson. A mouse.
Pause. Okay, friends, so we put all of those in order, and as we notice, they're almost in the exact order as the pictures. So she went to the door, then she checked under the round tables, she carefully opened the cabinet, she looked on her teacher desk, then she went to the student tables, then she ever so gently looked in the waste basket, then she went to the computer tables and checked both sides of the computer. Thank you for doing such a good job that we got through this. So I want you to think about the place where these items are in Miss Hutchinson's room. Where are these places in Miss Hutchinson's room? Okay. So let's try to fit them together where we remember them being. So I remember that the door is here. So that's the line for the door. And I remember the cabinet. Where'd the cabinet go? The cabinet, that's a rectangle, was over here. And then I remember the teacher's desk was opposite it. And then I also remember that the waste basket was over here. And then we had the two round tables where the kids were sitting and working. And I remember that the rectangular table where the computer was found at was here. And then the computer was here. And the mouse was here. And then there were, what have I missed? The student desks, right? There were, I think, like 4 student desks back here. And I think it looked something like this. It might not be perfect, but I think it looked something like this. Do, 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 do. Okay, so there's our story map. Let's flip back and see how, oh, I don't want to have to go all the way back. Okay. How did we do? Hey, not too bad, except that there were more desks than what I do. Pretty nice job. All right. And there it is. So they actually took the pieces of paper. The student desks were here. They didn't draw 2 tables, but that's okay. And we know the computer was on top of the rectangular table. Okay. So it wants us to play the story again. So let's do that, and then we can follow around the classroom. Pause. All right. Okay, friends, so we're going to listen to the story again. You can see I've split my screen, and let's make the path from where she goes. Here we go. Let's try it out.
Every day, the children in Miss Hutchinson's class gathered happily around the two round tables. But one day, the children were scared to enter the classroom. Someone had heard there was a white mouse loose in the classroom. Brave Miss Hutchinson decided to go in, alone, to look for the mouse. She opened the door and looked around. No white mouse.
Okay. So she started here, looked around, no white mouse.
She looked under the round tables. No white mouse.
Okay. She looked under the round tables. No white mouse. Where'd she go next? Tell me. Okay, let's see if you're right.
She carefully opened the doors of the cabinet and peered inside. No white mouse.
Okay, I know some of you were right. I heard it. So then she went over here and carefully peered into the cabinet doors. Good. Where'd she go next? Do you remember? Tell me. Okay, let's see.
She went to her desk and looked all around. No white mouse. She
Okay. She went to her desk. No white mouse. Where do you think she's going to go yet next? I think so too. I think it's the trash can.
walked around the student desks. No white mouse.
I got it wrong. How many of you were wrong with me? She carefully walked around the student desks. Do we know which way she went? No, we don't. No white mouse. Where'd she go now? Do you think she went to the trash can now? Okay.
She carefully, oh so carefully, looked in the wastebasket. No white mouse.
There's the wastebasket. I wonder why she didn't go from the wastebasket and then to the student tables. That's curious. Okay, she carefully, oh, so carefully looked in the trash can. Now, where did she go? Oh, let's retrace our steps. Boom, 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 wow, boom. Trash can. And I think I know what you're going to say next.
Finally, she went to the rectangular table.
The rectangular table. So I am just going to take her path back this way. She went to the rectangular table, and we know that the computer is on the table. So I am just going to draw a little computer up here, if that's okay. Okay, let's listen.
She looked on the left side of the computer.
She looked on the left side. That's the left side. And then where did she look? Yeah, on the right
No white
side.
mouse. She looked on the right side of the computer. Suddenly, Miss Hutchinson began to laugh. Next to the white computer, she saw a white computer mouse. There was that white mouse. Just then, at the back of the room, Miss Hutchinson heard a little voice. Squeak, 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 said the little voice. Yikes, said Miss Hutchinson. A mouse.
Okay, friends, that is such a cute story. So let's take a look at the path that we took. I made a rhyme. Let's take a look at the path that we took. So she started at the door, looked under the tables, into the cabinet, at her desk. She walked around all the student desks. If you remember, there were about 6 of them, but I only went around the one card. And then she looked in the trash can. And then she went to the rectangular table, and the computer's on the rectangular table. So she looked on the left of the computer and the right of the computer. And this is supposed to be an exclamation point, but it didn't do so hot. So, friends, we did a super nice job on that. Okay. So, what these folks are, all they did was they traced the path. So, let's see if the people go where we do. So, the person in red is Miss Hutchinson, and the person in green is the mouse, albeit they're over here by the computer. So, let's see how we did. Round table, cabinet, teacher desk, classroom, student table, trash can. Did you notice how it's almost exactly at our arrows? Rectangular table, and then in front of the computer. But the only reason that person is there is because the computer picture is here. Excellent job. Excellent, excellent job. Yikes, a mouse. Squeak, squeak. That was cute. All right. So I don't think we need to listen to the story again to do. Oh, yep, we're going to listen to it again. It's not letting me deselect it. There we go. Here we go. Let's listen to the story again.
Every day, the children in Miss Hutchinson's class gathered happily around the two round tables. But one day, the children were scared to enter the classroom. Someone had heard there was a white mouse loose in the classroom. Brave Miss Hutchinson decided to go in, alone, to look for the mouse. She opened the door and looked around. No white mouse. She looked under the round tables. No white mouse. She carefully opened the doors of the cabinet and peered inside. No white mouse. She went to her desk and looked all around. No white mouse. She walked around the student desks. No white mouse. She carefully, oh so carefully, looked in the wastebasket. No white mouse. Finally, she went to the rectangular table. She looked on the left side of the computer. No white mouse. She looked on the right side of the computer. Suddenly, Miss Hutchinson began to laugh. Next to the white computer, she saw a white computer mouse. There was that white mouse. Just then, at the back of the room, Miss Hutchinson heard a little voice. Squeak, 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 said the little voice. Yikes, said Miss Hutchinson. A mouse. The mouse looked at Miss Hutchinson. Miss Hutchinson looked at the mouse. Miss Hutchinson was scared, but so was the mouse. The mouse was so scared that it ran all the way up the back wall and across the ceiling. Now the mouse was looking down on the classroom from above. What do you think the classroom looked like from up there?
Oh my gosh, friends. So I'm wondering, was it a mouse or was it a real mouse? It went running across the room and up on the ceiling. Let me see if I can find that place again. Hold on.
Miss Hutchinson, a mouse.
Listen
The mouse
carefully.
looked at Miss Hutchinson. Miss Hutchinson looked at the mouse. Miss Hutchinson was scared, but so was the mouse. The mouse was so scared that it ran all the way up the back wall and across the ceiling. Now the mouse was looking down on the classroom from above. What do you think the classroom looked like from up there?
Pause. I have to pee. Get it in there, quick. Let's get your dinner. Are you done with your dinner? Where you been? Easy, easy. Okay, friends, so now we have a new ending. What do we think that the classroom is going to look like from on top of the ceiling? Think about how the mouse saw the classroom from above. Do you think if the mouse were on the ceiling that this is the picture it would see? What do you guys think? Do you think yes or do you think no? Let's see. Let's find out. We're going to make a picture of the classroom the way the mouse saw it. Okay. So this is what our map looked like before we started drawing all of the arrows on it on the path that the teacher took. Okay. So this is the same page that I wanted you to notice what the symbols look like. So do you see this circle? Does that look like maybe the circle if we saw it from the top? Do you see the square? Does that look like maybe what the table would look like from above? Or what about this rectangle? Do you think that's what we would see if we saw it from above? Very good. The only one that's a little bit different is we definitely wouldn't see the screen if we were up on the ceiling. We would just see the top of the computer. But that's okay. I think you guys have a good idea. Okay. So this is Miss Hutchinson's classroom. And what it's going to look like is we are going to be able to put the door is going to be about here. And the student desks, if you remember, there were some desks here and here and here. And then there were some half ones that we couldn't see. The rectangular table was over here with the computer on it. And we had the two tables that the kids like to sit on. And then we had the bookshelf cabinet here and the teacher's desk and the waste basket. Now, some of you are going to say, well, it doesn't have the blackboard and it doesn't have her chair. You're right, it doesn't, but you could always add those in if you wanted to. But do you think that if the mouse were on the ceiling looking down at all those kids, that this might be more exact of what is seen? I think you're right. I bet it is. I'm just trying to turn the page. Okay. Oh, that just talks about the different symbols. Well, we sure did that one already. So there's the door. There's the two tables. There's the cabinet. There's the teacher's desk. And oh, they got all the student desks in there. They did a good job. And the waste basket and the rectangular table and the computer on top. Excellent. Okay. So that is a map of how Miss Hutchinson's room would look like. So if you compare these two, which one do you think the mouse is going to see if it's hanging from the ceiling? Yeah, if the mouse is hanging from the ceiling, it's definitely going to see this map. You're absolutely correct. Okay. Tomorrow, or I should say in our next lesson, we're going to be reading the student book, that hard book that you guys have at school. We're going to be reading the stories for that together tomorrow, and we'll continue. So for today, friends, we are done. And in our next lesson, we will do phase 2, reading a map. So you guys have a great afternoon, and I can't wait to see you later.